You know, the government is promoting bad behavior because we certainly don't want to put stimulus forth and give people a whopping $8 or $10 in their check and think that they ought to save it. And in terms of modifications, I'll tell you what, I have an idea. You know, the new administration's big on computers and technology. How about this, President and new administration? Why don't you put up a website to have people vote on the internet as a referendum to see if we really want to subsidize the losers' mortgages, or would we like to at least buy cars and buy houses in foreclosure and give them to people that might have a chance to actually prosper down the road and reward people that could carry the water instead of drink the water?
Hey, Rick,
that's a novel idea.
Hey, Rick, did you?
What? Who thought of that?
Yeah, they're like putty in your hands. Did you hear?
No, they're not, Joe. They're not like putty in our hands. This is America. How many of you people want to pay for your neighbor's mortgage that has an extra bathroom and can't pay their bills? Raise their hand.
How about we all...
President Obama, are you listening?
How about we all stop paying our mortgage? It's a moral hazard.
This is like mob rule here. I'm getting scared. I'm glad I'm.
Why don't you guys don't get scared,
some
Joe.
bricks and
They're
bats.
already scaring you. You know, Cuba used to have mansions and a relatively decent economy. They moved from the individual to the collective. Now they're driving 54 Chevys. Maybe the last great car to come out of Detroit.
They're driving them on water, too, which is a little strange to watch at
there
times.
You go.
Hey, Rick, how about the notion that Wilbur pointed out you can go down to 2% on the mortgage.
You could go down to minus 2%.
And still have
40%.
And still have 40% not be able to do it. So why are they in the house? Why are we trying to keep them in the house?
Mr. Summers is a great economist, but boy, I'd love the answer to that one.
Jason,
you get people fired up.
Jason, you want to...
We're thinking of having a Chicago Tea Party in July. All you capitalists that want to show up to Lake Michigan, I'm going to start organizing.
What are you dumping in? What are you dumping in this time? Housing,
I'm
cars?
going to be dumping in some derivative securities. What do you think about
Mayor
that?
Daley is marshaling the police right now.
Rabble route.
National Guard. You know, Rick, one of our producers says if Roland Burris steps down, man, Senator Santelli, the junior senator from Illinois, it's a possibility. I'm just saying.
Do you think I want to take a shower every hour? The last place I'm ever going to live or work is D.C.
Have you raised any money for Blago?
No, but I think that somebody's going to have to start raising money for us.
So, Rick, are they opposed to the housing thing, to the stimulus package, to everything out there?
You know, they're pretty much of the notion that you can't buy your way into prosperity, and if the multiplier that all of these Washington economists are selling us is over 1, then we never have to worry about the economy again. The government should spend $1 trillion an hour because we'll get $1.5 trillion back.
Wilbur?
Rick, I congratulate you on your new incarnation as a revolutionary leader.
Somebody needs one. I'll tell you what, if you read our founding fathers, people like Benjamin Franklin and Jefferson, what we're doing in this country now is making them roll over in their graves.
There really does appear to be some anger out there from people who just don't believe the president when he said that only people who acted responsibly are going to be helped here. How can you assure people that you're going to reward only people, only homeowners who acted responsibly?
I've watched Mr. Santelli on cable the past 24 hours or so. I would encourage him to read the president's plan. This is a copy of the president's home affordability plan. It's available on the White House website, and I would encourage him download it, hit print, and begin to read it.
All right, download it, hit print, and begin to read it. Rick, this is one of the worst attacks I've ever seen on the media from the president or the White House or the press secretary. This reminds me of Papa Bush attacking Dan Rather. It reminds me of Richard Nixon's blistering attacks on members of the press he didn't like. I don't like this one bit. First up, my friend, have you read the mortgage documents, the mortgage plan documents? They're saying you didn't.
Of course I did, Larry. I thought it was a one-page thing he held up. We all heard the president when he did this live on CNBC. Of course we saw it. And you know what? If you listen to my rant, Larry, did I talk to any points in here that were unjust? Let's just look at a few of these. You know, Mr. Gibbs, I will tell you this. The one point that Larry and I don't like right from the beginning is loan modifications through bankruptcy judges. Now, you want to really get particular? They said, I don't know what I'm talking about. I think the notion is that we aren't really paying for other people's mortgages. Where does he think these $1,000 are coming from to pay the servicers? Why should we pay those banks? They should be taking care of it themselves. You know, this money is coming from somewhere. And if they're going to lower the interest rates on some, they should lower it for everybody. Or they should give everybody a check. You know what, Larry? The 92% of the Americans that are paying their loan on time, do you think there's no pain there? These people probably are cutting back. Their 401ks are down. It's tough. Just because they're making their payment and they're current doesn't mean they're not cutting back as well. We need to be American about this. A card laid is a card played. Do we want to inundate our kids with that? But more than that, do we want to teach our children that you can get out of a mistake and that there are do-overs? I just don't think that's American. And I read it, and guess what? I still don't like it.
Rick Santelli, there is a populist revolt against this mortgage plan precisely for the reasons that you have articulated this evening and, of course, yesterday. You see it everywhere. You see it in the media everywhere.
You know, I've ranted for years. Anybody who's seen CNBC knows I'm impassioned about anything. You'll never see anybody get more excited about CPI than Rick Santelli. Why is this rant over the last 14 years such a big deal or different than the others? Because we hit a nerve. And the reason he had the nice smile on his face and he was so kind to me is because he is protesting too much. He sees the pluralists come back. He sees the websites. He sees the hits. And maybe they didn't expect it. And I'm not saying I'm right. But at the end of the day, call me any names that you want. But the fact of the matter is, everybody is talking about it, studying it, looking at it more. And in my opinion, if I help do that even 1/10 of 1%, I'm happy, and I can take it. And if we're going to be on the Today Show together, I'll drink decaf, but I have a feeling you ought to drink caffeinated.
Well, I'll just tell you this. Of course, I agree with virtually everything you said. I've made the same points. But, Rick, I want to go into this. This is an unprecedented White House assault on a member of the media in good standing. You are a veteran.
Well.
You've been doing this stuff for years. And as I said earlier, I can't recall anything like this. In some respects, this is worse than the Nixon attacks on Dan Rather, or I remember the Papa Bush attacks on CBS's Dan Rather. Now, there's an issue here. There's a freedom of the press issue. There's also a respect issue. There's also a bullying issue, Rick Santelli. And I want to know, do you want to go and take Gibbs up on having a cup of coffee? Do you feel that the White House has a right to start bullying members? It can be you today, it can be me tomorrow, it could be somebody on Fox News, it could be NBC News, it could be anybody. Does this mean this is how this White House in the Obama presidency is going to react to criticism from the media? Is this a signal of things to come with the worst press relations we've seen in our lifetime?
Well, I certainly hope not. And if he's inviting me to Washington, I certainly, out of respect for the presidential administration, whom I want to succeed as badly as any of the other 300 million Americans, not only will I show up, but my favorite movie is Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, and Rick is going to be on his way.
All right, terrific stuff. Rick Santelli, have a great weekend.